It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudist, and Naturist.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the Naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome into Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 125 today. We've been waiting since Wednesday for you to come back, and you have come back, and we are ready to go. Clothes-free living for all of the right reasons for the next hour together. Doesn't get any better than that. Well, come on in. The pool feels great. The hot tub is fired up. The grill is going full bore. Fruits and vegetables off to the right. Cold drinks off to the left. Hot drinks inside. The hammock out the left door. Cigar bar in the back area of the pool. And, of course, we have a little putting green outside in the back. Help yourself to that. Extra towels, extra lotion, extra chairs. If you showed up with nothing at all other than yourself, you are still good to go. How is that for a deal? Well, on today's show, Lisa Monroe coming up in just a moment as she's settling into her chair with her full cup of coffee. And then we'll have part one of my interview with Jeff Jackson, the owner and founder of Rocky Mountain Naturist Club, also the vice president, American Association for Nude Recreation West Region, and he's written the manual on non-landed clubs. I hear some music that can only mean one thing. It's time for the great, the terrific, the completely over-the-top, fully clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the one and only, the completely over-the-top, fully clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. I'm doing very well. And as you can see, maybe you didn't see because you don't look, but I've turned over a new leaf. I will not dance into the studio any longer as to not, upset you in any way.
Now, we want to point out when you say turn over a new leaf, that's not a fig leaf. You're not even wearing one of those, right?
No.
Let's just be clear about that. Yeah, I noticed, I can see stuff out of the corner of my eye. And I can monitor stuff, meaning you, while I'm announcing you, and I didn't notice any movement. So, okay, that explains it. You didn't move at all. You're trying to play straight and narrow, but I know what you're really doing. You'll play straight, you'll play quiet, you'll be straight, and then all of a sudden, when my guard is down, you'll do your thing, right?
Maybe, but we'll cross that bridge when it happens. How about that?
All right.
I'm just trying to be good.
All right. Well, first time for everything. So today's your day. All right. So how have you been since I last saw you, which has been a long time, is what, 2 or 3 days?
Well, it's just been absolutely forever and ever since the last show. I'm doing great, and I'm enjoying the morning sun and hiding from the afternoon thunder showers. But otherwise, fine. Got some
good.
naked time outside, so life is good.
Yeah. I actually ran the clock last week. I haven't done this for a long time in terms of show preparation. The Saturday shows take me personally close to 30 hours to put together. Sometimes I get it done in 25. And that's everything. That's, planning, organizing, back and forth with the upcoming guest, actually recording the interview, editing that, doing our segment, editing that. There's a lot that goes into it. And then the YouTube show, the YouTube preview, the Twitter promo, the actual show, the posting. It goes on forever. And adding a Wednesday show, because we have no guests, that takes a lot of the stuff out of it, and because templates are already set up, that's close to another 10 hours. So I'm close to 35 to 40 hours per week now just on this show. And I'm going to ask you in a minute, because I know you put tons of hours in as well. If we were just sitting around watching soap operas and eating bonbons all day, except for this show, that would be okay. But we're basically banging out full-time hours before we even touch this show. How about you? How many hours do you put in? I know it's a whole bunch.
Not anywhere near as much as you, Jessica, because I don't handle the technical part. But working on the website, handling the orders that come in, also, do a little bit of research behind the scenes for things. So, I probably spend maybe 20 hours a week, 25 tops, and sometimes it can be more than that. But, because I don't have the technical piece, it's not such a big burden. But that's 20 to 25 hours that, I have other things I have to do. Plus, I also write. So,
Yeah.
I find my writing at 11 o'clock at night, and then I'm trying to fall asleep. And so, it never ever works. But it's fun. And, I think the busier you are, the more you can do. And it's when we have idle hands that we tend to start going, oh, I'll do that later. I'll do that later. I won't do that now. But when you're super busy, it's go, okay, if I do this right now, I have that out of the way, and then I can go do this. And that works for me.
Yeah, and the only reason I bring that up, well, first of all, when you say about 20, 25 hours, does that include your almost nonstop interaction with me, either through texting or however we communicate through the week? 'Cause that's
No.
another gazillion hours.
No,
I wasn't sure.
that's like the 28/7 or 20, yeah, no. What is that?
25/8.
25/8.
Yeah.
My math is never very good, apparently. But yeah, 25/8 job for that.
All right.
So
Well, the only reason I brought that up, a couple of things. Some people, almost every week we get some emails on this, how do you guys do it? It's very professional, on and on and on and on. And the answer is we've given before. We work our ever loving tails off here. There's no accidents, nothing done. Oops, whatever, let's throw it out there. It's good enough. No, it has to be up to our standards that we've established here for the company, in which this show is part of it. And so that's a lot of hours. That's at the top end, 55 hours a week, 30 for me, 25 for you. That's 55 hours a week that we're banging out to put on 2 shows. Now, if we had other people working on the show, they could handle some of the activities, but the same amount of hours just be spread through more people. So that's the answer. Banging out a lot of hours, doing our best, putting it out for naturism, nudism, clothes-free living, for all of the right reasons. And sometimes it's good to remind people of that. We're not just sitting around watching soap operas, I'll say sipping iced tea or whatever. We're working, what'd you say, 28/7? I'll go with 25/8. But
sorry,
whatever.
25/8.
All right.
Oh, yeah, brain cells are not functioning this morning, apparently.
Well, that's because you've been working too hard on the show.
That's it. That's my excuse.
That's right. Well, as everybody knows, we have a Patreon page. We actually gave up paid work to do the show. Not too bright, although we knew what we were doing when we got into it. But to help meet expenses, we asked our listeners to join Patreon and give what you can. We appreciate that very much. And Lisa Monroe, we have 2 new people this week. Who do we have?
We certainly do. We have Paul and we have Beth Ann. And it's great to see a gal come in all on her own without being part of the couple or anything else. I think it's just wonderful because that's what women should do. They should support what they enjoy, and we appreciate that very, very much.
Yes, we do. And the Paul is a gentleman whom we've discussed on this show before. We don't give last names for Patreon,
Right.
but he interacts with the show quite a bit through direct messages, emails. And so, Paul, we thank you very much. And Beth Ann, we thank you very much. And we thank all of our listeners for giving to Patreon. You get special gifts when you join. You also get a newsletter once a month. And if you're at the 2 top tiers, you get special content, an extra show every month. And as I mentioned recently, on the 10th of this month, September, we discussed the whole family nudism thing, children in naturism, all that. And so that's on our special content, which you can get if you sign up. Just go to patreon.com. You can find us. It's also in the very top of each show note description for every single show that we do. Okay, in addition to everything else that you do around here, you're the merchandise guru. Anything to report on there?
Well, merchandise has been going very well, so we really appreciate everyone who's been placing orders and hope you're enjoying your merch and love to have pictures. Send us pictures of you enjoying your t-shirt or your mug or your beach towel or whatever you've gotten. But I'm actually working on something, unfortunately it's starting to get cooler here.
Mhm.
So, people might like to walk on the beach and even if it's cold or do hiking. So I'm looking at a couple of kind of cold weather items for people to see. And also the Southern Hemisphere is about to heat up. So we look forward to, hearing from everyone to get their summer merch.
Yeah, very much so. I saw the New Zealand newsletter recently they sent out to all their people, New Zealand Naturism Federation, or whatever they call themselves. Very well done, very complete, very thorough. And yeah, they talked about that. You know, we're getting ready. We're getting ready to
Mhm.
get warm around here. So good for them, not as good for us, but that's what happens every year. We flip flop and we have a good 6 months. They have a good 6 months and we just continue on, right?
Life is fair that way for them. I wish too bad we just didn't have a little bit more warm further up the globe on both the directions, but it's good.
That's right. Well, this past Saturday, we did part two of my interview with Linda Weber. Any final thoughts on that? We did part one on the 6th, part two on the 13th. They're both out there in episode land. Any thoughts on the interview?
I think Linda did an excellent job, and she's doing a very good job as president. And there are a lot of things that are facing Anna right now where they have a lot of things to discuss and to decide and to act on. And, because membership has, they need a membership drive, they need a lot of work in that direction because this is an important organization. And so if you're a naturist, you need to take a look at this and make sure that you are supporting ANNR because they're doing a lot for us behind the scenes that most people don't realize.
Yeah, very much so. And it's a very difficult position to be in. As I mentioned before, I've been the leader, the CEO of different situations, and I had some advantages. I had some rules in place that gave me some authority to do what I needed to do. I
Mhm.
didn't have total authority, and I always had to report to a board, and I couldn't get too far out of the off the beaten path, although I did a few times, and it always worked. And so I was forgiven, but I was also told, hey, don't do that again. Talk to us first. Oh, yeah, sorry. The old ask for forgiveness instead of permission thing. But with Anna, it's not set up that way. You kind of have to go with the flow and kind of bob and weave. But she's out there and working every single day, 7 days a week, doing her best work. So again, we appreciate Linda Weber for all of her time on the last two shows.
And I want to say this before we go, because you just did an excellent job with that interview. And I think it was, well structured. You asked the questions that needed to be asked and for the answers that members needed. And so it was really appreciated.
Oh, well, thank you very much. You trying to get on my good side again? Is that what this is?
Oh, well, I'm trying my best, but what can I tell you? Sometimes it doesn't work. But no, I'm being truthful. It was a very excellent, in-depth interview, bringing out information that people needed to hear.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's not, interviewing is a different skill set altogether, and most people in life don't have that opportunity. And so when they start a podcast, it's sure I can interview people. Well, perhaps you can't because it takes, like everything else in life, you want to be good at something, you need a lot of practice and a lot of time and making mistakes and correcting them. And, little by little, you refine. I think somebody put out there research wise, it takes 10,000 hours of focused activity to actually get pretty good at something. Well, I've probably beaten that by 100-fold.
Probably so, but you've also gotten very good at it because I know you've also gotten some awards for this exact situation. So I think it's really terrific.
Okay, so what are you really up to now? That's two compliments in the same show.
Oh, I need an assistant. No, I'm teasing. No, I'm being serious. It's we sit back and we hear these interviews from everyone, and a lot of people are nervous and they're worried about doing an interview, and they find out that they're at ease when they're talking to you, and that makes a huge difference for people, and that shows the skill of how to approach people and talk to them.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. And yes, I've not to brag or anything, but I've won local, state, and national awards for interviewing and radio. But it's not about me. But I appreciate you saying that. So we'll move on.
Yes.
And we have an email from a gentleman. First name is Kroll, and we won't give his last name, although he did give us permission to use his name. And we have a couple of emails from different people today, Lisa. If we only get to Kroll's, that's fine. Then we can save the other one for next week.
Okay.
But if you don't mind, if you can read the first paragraph, take it away.
And I certainly will. I came across your podcast a little over a year ago, and with almost an hour commute, I was fortunate to get to listen to multiple episodes a week. I have officially listened to all 117 episodes now and appreciate all the work you all put into making them.
Okay. And of course, this is episode 125, so this was obviously sent, a few weeks ago. I'll continue on. My wife and I are ANNR members and supporters of Tampa Bay Free Beaches. We have visited multiple resorts and beaches in the U.S. and a few Caribbean destinations. Our first social nude experience was about 4 years ago at Cypress Cove, and we have been hooked ever since. Of course, we have the, in quote, why didn't we try this sooner, end quote, feeling. And if you can finish it up.
And I'm fortunate to have a wife that enjoys nudity as much as I do, and a pool in our backyard with enough privacy to enjoy it au natural. Thanks again, and keep up the great work.
All right. And then we wrote back, hi, Kroll. Wow. That is fantastic news. You have discovered the joys of naturism and you are living life to the fullest. And I used 1, 2, 3, 4 exclamation points throughout that sentence. Two different sentences, 3 exclamation points on sentence 1, 1 exclamation point on the second. So you know I'm excited, right?
Yes,
I think I wrote that part.
Extremely so. Because, yes,
okay.
I can feel it, the electricity in the air, definitely.
And then we wrote, as for the why didn't we try this sooner aspect, at least you discovered it 4 years ago and not 40 years from now. So embrace it. And if you go ahead and finish up.
And I said, if it's okay with you, we would like to read your email on an upcoming show. Is that okay? And then thanks for everything, including for being an avid listener. Yeah. Doing 117 shows in just a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. That's pretty avid, and that's very much appreciated. I'm surprised he didn't know me.
No, he discovered the show about a year ago, he said.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so with his hour commute, he's been catching up little by little. And we started the show over 2 years ago. So he was way behind when he first kicked in. And then now that we've added a second show every week, we're just piling it on poor Kroll. Sorry about that, Kroll, but we hope you're enjoying the show. And that is really good news. We get enough of these emails. I want to be naked all the time. My spouse says, get your clothes on, or, all heck's going to break loose. And here's a couple enjoying it together. They discovered it together. They're enjoying it together. They go to clubs. They go to resorts. They take nude vacations. That might be the best life of all, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely is. And, it's just a shame that everyone who enjoys nature isn't also in that same situation where they have spouses, partners, or friends who they can enjoy it with. And it's pretty bad when we have to go out looking for the friends, especially to enjoy it with. But having your spouse or partner, yeah, absolutely. It's wonderful.
Oh, that's the only way to go. And we have another email from a gentleman, first name Kenny. I'll just go ahead and start reading. It's fairly lengthy and we have some back and forth, so we're going to get it all in. I just started listening to your show. I'm from Bentonville, Arkansas. As you know, from episodes 44 and 45 in your interview with JD, the law is ridiculous in this state. I've never considered myself a naturist until about a year ago, but have been an at-home nudist. Started sleeping in the nude when I was 12 and haven't worn pajamas since. I was raised in a strict religious home, and nudity was something we didn't even talk about. It was equated with something comedic or sex. Whenever I was alone at home, I enjoyed being nude, and thankfully we lived in the country and I was hooked on being naked outside. It was a taboo thing, so I kept it hidden. Now that I am older, I have admitted to my wife how relaxed I am when nude, and my wife knows that I hate clothes, and I am nude whenever I am home. I seriously thought I was wrong all my life for enjoying simple nudity. And if you can go ahead and do the last 2 paragraphs.
Living in Arkansas, I found their laws prohibit even promoting a nudist lifestyle. If arrested, it can carry a fine up to $2,500, and your name can be put on the sexual offender list. I thought about going to Oak Lake Trails in Oklahoma, but it is a few hours away, and I'm not sure I can convince my wife to go with me. She does go nude at home from time to time, but it is rare. What can be done when you live in a state that is so hostile to being nude? I am a Christian, and I now realize being nude is the most natural thing. However, I would never divulge my thoughts to other Christians because many connect nudity with sex. I enjoy your show and wish I could find others like JD in my area. Thank you for keeping naked normal.
With an exclamation point.
Yes.
Let's not forget that. That's right. And it is normal.
It is.
And all of that, we might have to spend some time on next week's show, kind of pontificating a little more on everything that he said. But we did write back. Hi, Kenny. Thank you for your very kind words. And yes, we were just as stunned as you when JD told us this news. Even Jesus said, give to Caesar what is his. And we are told to honor those in authority. So the suggestion is to follow the law until it gets changed. As for sharing it with other, in quotation marks, Christians, we have found that even Christians do not understand or embrace this concept, even though the Bible spells it out. And we've had numerous people on this show to tell us that. Authors and a guy making a movie on the whole thing, a former pastor. It's right in the Bible. People were naked all the time, and it was accepted as normal because it was, just like drinking water. This shows how effective Satan and mass media have been to turn us away from God, but you know the truth, and that's always a good thing. And if you can go ahead and finish up.
You mentioned that your wife will be nude in the home from time to time, but can you be nude anytime you choose, or are there restrictions for you? If it is okay, if we share your email in an upcoming show, thank you for being an avid listener.
Okay. And then he did write back, and you'll like this a lot. Hello, Lisa and Frank, and in parentheses, ladies first. And we're okay with that, right?
Yes, and certainly a gentleman, and that's appreciated.
That's right. Thank you for responding, and I am still enjoying your show and the information you provide. I guess I consider myself more of a naturist, since I would love to be nude in nature, but unfortunately nudity is constricted to home. I would love to get in some sun, but my yard is too open to neighbors, and given the strict nature of laws in Arkansas, it would not be legal or advisable. I often enjoy grounding by going barefoot on some of the awesome hiking trails, and I often get odd looks from people. Imagine if they knew that I actually wanted to be naked. And take it from there.
I am envious of the freedom I hear from you and your guests. Even though I'm not able to enjoy a hike or the sunshine, I am definitely naked when home and almost 100% of the time. My wife accepts the fact that I am nude at home, and sometimes she will join in, but it is rare, even though I encourage her. Both of us growing up had strict religious upbringings, and nudity has unfortunately been equated with something sexual and to be hidden. I'm looking forward to your interview with the president of ANR and would love to know if ANR would be able to help us closet naturists in Arkansas be able to finally walk into the light and get some free vitamin D. I can't be the only one in Arkansas with a wish to walk bare in the sunlight. Thank you again for everything, and have a great day.
And that's from Kenny. And we did send that to Anna. Specifically, we sent it to Linda Weber and Jeff, who is the communications director. I believe that's his title in the office of Anna. And it's up to them what they want to do with that. I don't know what they can do. They've been involved in Arkansas before, with some notable cases. But it's beyond ridiculous. We could go on forever, and maybe we should go on a little more on next week's show. But the antiquated laws in Arkansas, and the part that gets me, it's all based on, well, we're a religious state. We have a church on every street corner, therefore you can't be naked. That's be like a doctor or scientist say, we want you to be healthy, but you can't drink water because it's just bad news. What is what I want to say? That's the antithesis of what it's all about. As we've said a million times, we were born naked, not with a tuxedo or an evening gown. We were intended to be naked. And now we're told the opposite. If you take your clothes off, you're going to get arrested in Arkansas. And I think he said $2,500 fine and on a sex offender list. Are you kidding me?
That just, the fine is one thing, but to put someone on the sex offender list for that, you just want to, need a Nerf baseball bat. So you won't hurt anybody, but you could say, whack them and say, what are you thinking? I would never want to hurt anybody, but darn it, need to get their attention and make them understand that they're completely off base in their thinking.
Oh, now, I can understand if you're hiding in the weeds and some, a guy and females walk out and you jump out naked. Hey, ladies, look at my whatever. Yeah, that's a problem. You probably ought to be on the sex offender list because that's sexual in nature. But on your own property, just going for a hike or going for a swim with no clothes on. Oh, sex offender, $2,500. You're in big trouble, pal. Well, that's beyond wrong, and we did send it to Anna as well. And if we have time, we'll get back to this on next week's show.
Okay.
And Lisa Monroe, with that, we will head for the hills. My interview coming up with Jeff Jackson from Rocky Mountain Naturist Club. He's also the new vice president of ANNR-West, although we recorded the interview before the vote, so we didn't really discuss that. But we're going to hear a lot about non-landed clubs, and you'll be here at the end of the show, right?
I certainly will be.
All right. Have a great close-free half hour or so. We'll see you at the end of the show.
Okay.
The very terrific Lisa Monroe comes in twice a week to do these segments, does all of our Tuesday meme work to advertise the shows, does our merchandise, does the website, does so much around here. We appreciate Lisa Monroe very much. Well, as a reminder, we are the official podcast for the American Association for Nude Recreation. Are you a member? If so, great! Glad to have you along, but if you are not, you can become one within moments. Simply go to AANR.com, follow the navigation to membership, and within moments, just like Lisa Monroe is and just like I am, you will be a fully fledged member of the American Association for Nude Recreation. How about that? Well, you are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 125 today. Hope you're enjoying this hour, close to living for all of the right reasons. And now let's get to part one of my interview with the founder and owner of the Rocky Mountain Naturist Club, also recently elected as the vice president of the American Association for Nude Recreation, the West Region. Part one with Jeff Jackson. We are headed out to Colorado this morning. We're going to talk to the gentleman who is the founder and the owner of the Rocky Mountain Naturist Club, a non-landed nudist club. So let's welcome him to the show this morning from Colorado, Jeff Jackson. Good morning, Jeff. How are you today, sir?
Good morning. Very good. How are you, Frank?
I'm doing well. Good to have you here. And maybe to start off, what is life like for you out in Colorado? You're near the Denver area, but just in general, day to day, is it pretty nice place to live these days?
Colorado is absolutely beautiful. The mountains, every day I drive out my driveway and down the road, I'm looking at the white-capped Rocky Mountains in all their glory, lit up by the sun coming up over the east. And I just couldn't think of a prettier place to live.
Wow. I remember, I grew up in the north, I guess they call it Midwest, Michigan, Ohio area. And they had so-called skiing available. And I never participated in skiing, but I drive by what I thought were mountains because they told me they were mountains. And I thought, wow, that's pretty impressive. And then I went to a seminar/conference for about a week in Colorado, about 2 hours from the airport. I'll never think of the town where it was. And it was at a ski resort in the summer. And we got there at night, unpacked, slept, got up the next day, and I went outside and saw mountains. And then I realized I've been lied to my whole life. Whatever they have in Michigan and Ohio, those are just little tiny hills. You guys are serious about your mountains out there, aren't you?
Absolutely. And, when you go up to some of those mountain peaks, like, I go up to Rocky Mountain National Park and stand up on the top of the hill and you can see Kansas. It's on a clear day. It's just the most amazing feeling.
Well, I'll bet. Now, how about sports? Are you a big sports fan? You have a lot of teams out there.
Well, yes, we have teams, the Avalanche, of course, and the Broncos. The Rockies not doing so well this season, but I've been to a game or two to support them anyway. And still, it's a beautiful venue. We have an amazing ballpark.
Yeah, that's true. I remember when that was built in, I don't know, maybe 25 years ago, 30 years ago, roughly.
About 30 years ago when I moved here, they had just opened the ballpark.
Yeah, and that was the new big thing. And of course, the ball carries well out there, being the Mile High Stadium. And yeah,
carries very well.
Lots of home runs out there. Nothing wrong with that. People tend to like that. Well, good. It sounds like you're really enjoying your life out there, but you're not from there originally?
I'm originally from San Diego, so left the beach for the mountains, and mountain biking brought me out here back then, trying to mountain bike in Southern California, and then I got to the Rocky Mountains, and it was a whole new ball game up, from that perspective.
Wow. Not many people can say they've lived in San Diego and in the mountains of Colorado. That's two very special places, so you've done well for yourself, Jeff.
Thank you.
You bet. Now, you've started this group, and it seems to be the new wave, at least to me. We talked a little before we started as a semi-outsider looking in. Yes, we are the official podcast, the American Association for Nude Recreation, but I don't hold an office or anything like that, like you do. And I should point out, you are a director on the board of ANNR-West with Cindy out there. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the interview. But that seems to be the new trend as people are selling their nudist resorts. People want to retire or get out of the business. They end up getting buyers that are non-naturists, and they turn into whatever, but it's not a nudist club anymore. So the alternative, or the new trend, at least as I see it, non-landed naturist clubs. And that's what you've done here. Maybe just give our listeners a little history on the Rocky Mountain Naturist Club, but when it started, how it came to be, and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, many moons ago, I think back in the early 2000s, I was looking for some sort of nudist activities here in the area. I came from a family that was not adverse to nudity. We would skinny dip together as a family growing up in Southern California without an air conditioner. The pool was always a nice respite. There was nights where it was hot. We would all eat dinner without clothes on because it was just more comfortable. And camping in the beaches of Baja, the swimsuits were optional the whole time because there was nobody down there. It was just us. So that was kind of my upbringing and background. But get busy, in Colorado here, I was looking for groups, and back then it was Yahoo groups was the way to find places, and I found a group called Rocky Mountain Naturists, and they had swims at this pool. It was an indoor pool, and joined that, and that went for a while until the pool fell into disrepair and the building was sold, and then that group folded. So I was on the watch again, and I found another one called Mile High Nudist on Meetup, which was a new technology, this Meetup platform. And so attended a few of their events, and that one eventually fell apart. And then another one was recreated, and joined that other one was 52 Naturist. And then that one fell apart. So I'm like, I know how to run a meetup group. I've done a few, non-nudist meetup groups. So I created the Rocky Mountain Naturist Club, and that was in May of 2019.
Okay.
And got, probably about 60 people on the meetup group in about that first few months. And today we're sitting at 274 registered members of the club.
Yeah.
I'd say probably about 100 to 150 are active in the last 12 months with our events. But yeah, that's how it all came together.
Well, that's pretty impressive. I mean, you just mentioned a number of groups started and then eventually folded, and you took over and started this one, the Rocky Mountain Naturist Club. You're up to 274 members. What are you doing that maybe they did not do, and not so much about what they didn't do, but more what you're doing to make this so successful?
Well, the other groups, they found one thing that worked and they did a lot of it. So the swims, we met once a month for the swims and didn't do anything else. And the other groups were very similar. We all met at one location and did the same thing. I decided variety is what people needed to attract members. We need to do hikes. We need to, we go up to Mountain Air Ranch, our local resort, and use the pool. We do wine tastings, all different kinds of events to give variety, paint and sips, things like that. And I think different events I've noticed attract different members of the group based on their interests. So I think that's how I'm keeping people engaged and building the club.
Do you also have members who show up at every event, no matter what your schedule? I'm guessing you do.
I have members that show up at, a wide spectrum of events. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. But you also have some who maybe only like the naked hiking and they just show up for that and they wait for the next event.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do have those. And I did find a lot of the younger naturists like more outdoor active things than they like indoor stuff. So, for instance, the paint and sips, we might see one younger naturist, and I put our younger naturist in the 20s, 30s bracket.
Okay.
When we do the outdoor things like hiking and even hot springs, stuff like that, we see a lot of the younger folks join us too.
Okay. Now, looking on, I'll call it your website, but it's your meetup page. That's what I have access to. You also make it very clear, like right out of the gate. I think it's one of the first sections there on what you're about. We are a non-sexual social club. That's your very first sentence, your disclaimer, I guess it is. And that's really important for people to understand. I still get that every once in a while when people find out I'm a nudist naturist. Oh, you're one of those who, every weekend has a wild, free-for-all. It's like, absolutely not. And I tend to get a little angry almost with that. And they quickly back off. Like, that is absolutely not what this is about at all. Just like you don't have wild free-for-alls, every weekend when you're wearing jeans and T-shirts. They said, well, of course not. And I said, well, of course not with me, too. So I'm glad you put that out there. Do you struggle with that from time to time? People either don't see it or they see it and they figure, well, there's got to be a ways around that rule, and you have to deal with that. Does that ever happen?
I haven't had to. In fact, I've had several female members who joined us for their first event tell us that they read that and felt comfortable enough to join. So, if one person says that to me and brings it up, I figured others are reading it and thinking, oh, this might be an okay group. I don't have to feel threatened.
That's kind of what I thought when I read it. It's like, okay, they're putting it right out there in black and white. At least on my computer screen, it's black and white. We're not doing that thing. And so maybe just don't knock on our door if that's what you're all about. And there are clubs that are about that. We don't
Sure.
promote them. We don't do anything with them. But it's good that you've separated yourself from that right away. And I saw somewhere on your meetup page, you have to be a resident of Colorado. Did I read that correctly?
So we put that in there for from the membership perspective. We have a presence on social media, and I get people all around the world wanting to be a member of the club. And to me, that kind of skews my membership. We welcome if someone's coming through Colorado, absolutely reach out. We would love to have you come to our events. We love meeting people, and we have folks that come to certain events from other states, and that's great. But I just put that in there to help cut down on a lot of, people joining just to see things and hoping to see photos and pictures, which, we don't have many on our website. I want to make, the club available to everybody who's coming through Colorado, but at the same time, administering the number of users and members. If I have a lot of
Yeah.
people that join and don't do anything with the club, it's kind of a lot of work to manage.
Okay. I suspected that was the answer. I almost joined. In fact, I went to join your group just to get more information for the interview. And I saw that, like, you got to be a resident. So, okay, I don't want to mess with that. And, tick off Jeff Jackson here or anybody else and try to play games. So I did not join. But you do that just to manage the group. So, somebody in Maine who maybe goes to Colorado once every 10 years, you don't necessarily need them as a member because they're not going to be a regular visitor anyway, right?
Right. Yeah, and I do get people who want to join because, their business brings them to Colorado once or twice a year. And I
Yeah.
think, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
I respond back to them and say, please email us and let us know your dates. And I'm happy to extend you an invite to any events we have going. I do have several members who are out of state. The Wasatch Naturist Club and Rocky Mountain Naturist Club do events together. So we do share events. And then there's a couple of members from Arizona as well in the same type of thing where they're club organizers and we kind of peek at what each club is doing. So I do have some non-Colorado members, but for the general public, reach out. We'd be happy to invite you in any events we have going on. Because again, nudists love meeting other nudists and getting to know people.
Yeah. Also, like, on your site, and I kind of like this no matter which way anybody goes, as long as they make it clear. We don't differentiate around here. But you talked about on your meetup site, you don't have to be fully nude every single second you're with the Rocky Mountain Naturist Club. You can be dressed, you can be partially nude, you can be whatever you want to be. Nothing is mandatory as long as you behave yourself, basically, right?
That's correct. And one of I guess my target audience for joining or creating this club, obviously, there's people who are nudist and comfortable with their nudity, but I really want to reach out to those people who've maybe been home nudists or timid and wanting to give it that first social nudism try, taking that next step. And so I put that in there to let people know, male or female, just come see what we're about. You don't have to be nude. It's not required. Wear as much or little as you want. And we have some events where there's females there that are only topless and they're comfortable with that. And that's fine. We don't care. We have some people that bring what I would term as a non-participating spouse or partner, and their partner stays dressed while the rest of us are nude. And we don't judge. Be clothed. Do what you'd like to do, and we're totally fine with that. And we don't treat them any differently.
Yeah, and that is what makes people feel comfortable. Like, I know a number of people, and obviously you do too. Like, I want to go, I want to try this out, but gosh, I don't want to get naked right away. Well, your club allows for that, right?
Yeah, ease into it at your own pace. You
Yeah.
might get naked that first event. You might feel comfortable and get naked. You might not. You might take you 2 or 3 events. That's fine. We don't care. We just want to meet you.
Now, I'm guessing if a guy shows up in a tuxedo and wears that tuxedo for 100 straight meetups with your club, you might have to have a few words with him.
Well, then we'll judge.
That's right. The judgment
Number
comes
one,
out.
it's Colorado. Why are you wearing a tuxedo in Colorado?
That's true. That's true. So at some point, you do have to kind of sort of get in the spirit of it is a nudist club. It's not a tuxedo club, right?
Yeah, we find that people either, cross that bridge and give it a try, and or as I would say, rip the Band-Aid off and give it a try. And there's other
That's right.
people that, they come. We've had several people that join us for one of our events. They're nude from the beginning, and after about 20, 30 minutes, they get up and say, you know what? This is not for me. They
Okay.
get dressed and leave. And it's like, great. We gave you the opportunity to give it a try, and I'm glad you figured out that it wasn't your jam. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. If you're comfortable, you'll come back, and if you're comfortable not being there, you'd rather not have them anyway because you have maybe 100 people and 2 or 3 over there really uncomfortable. That can start to make other people uncomfortable too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But how many? I don't know if you know the answer to this. I certainly don't. How many non-landed naturist clubs do we have in the USA? Does anybody keep account of that or not?
I'm sure, well, you have to look at two things. I think ANNR definitely has a count of the ANNR affiliated clubs, but there's a lot of non-ANNR affiliated clubs. And my club was unaffiliated for a long time because I didn't really realize that there was, an affiliation for non-landed clubs.
Yeah.
And I would guess, on the West Coast, non-landed clubs, and this is a total guess,
Yeah.
is we probably have about 15 to 20 non-landed clubs,
Okay.
both ANNR and non-ANNR that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm.
I know that goes all the way up into Alaska, that is all the way down into Southern California and New Mexico. That's a guess that we've had that many. Nationally, I have no idea. I hope a lot.
Yeah, I'm finding more and more of them, online or people reaching out to us. Hey, can I get on the show? I run this non-landed naturist club or nudist club, and we're trying to get as many on as we can, like yourself. We found you, ironically enough, on Twitter. I still call it Twitter, so just hang with me there, Jeff. I'll probably always call it Twitter. And I thought, well, these guys, I don't know who they are or what they do exactly, but they're very active, and that's always important to me. If you post once every 3 months, well, okay, whatever. I don't know. It could be good. It might not be. But if you're posting regularly, it shows that you care, and it shows that you have some level of initiative worth checking out. And that's when we checked you out. And then as we began to exchange messages back and forth, like the lid totally blew off, for me anyway, in terms of your involvement with ANNR and ANNR-West and being a director on the board and being one of the ringleaders of establishing protocol for non-landed naturist clubs. So you're kind of, if you're not a big wheel yet, and you probably are a big wheel in the non-landed naturist club community, but you're about to become really big, aren't you? Whether you want to or not.
That I can't answer. I'm just trying to stay in my lane and follow my path. It's funny because when I started this club, it was a labor of love. You have to have kind of an entrepreneurial spirit within you to do something like this, and also be a cruise ship director. So,
Yeah.
I've worked on building several businesses in my career, and this I'm building like another business, but it's a social club.
Yeah.
And so I'm always looking for that next rung on the ladder and trying to achieve, the next thing. And, over the first couple of years, we got started and got momentum going, and then COVID hit. And we basically mothballed the club for almost a year. While Meetup told us they didn't want anybody hosting any events. And so if you did post an event, then you got your hands slapped pretty bad. So we restarted again in 2021, and that's when people were like done with the lockdown and they wanted to get out and do stuff naked.
Yeah.
And then we also found we had an explosion of new members because a lot of people, as we've read everywhere during COVID, they just started going naked around the house. What's the point of getting dressed and doing laundry when you can be naked at home? And so now they wanted to branch out and try the social nudism experience. So my club started growing and getting bigger and bigger, and I'm having trouble managing it and thinking, okay, what's the next step? Who can I talk to? So I reached out to ANNR and I affiliated my club with ANR. national, and reached out and said, "Hey, I need help. Is there a group that can help me with my non-landed club?" And they're like Hims and Haws. Well, we have these, resorts, you can talk to. And I'm like, well, that's different than a
Yeah.
non-landed club.
Yeah.
So long story short, I found there was nobody that I could find. So I joined the ANNR board and made it my mission to provide that service to people in ANNR-West. And so that's kind of what led me down the path of joining the board of directors. In that journey, I have found assistance in some areas for my club, but we're still trying to build a network, a peer group network of non-landed club organizers to help each other with the problems we're all having, where we can get together and have a think tank and discuss problems and provide solutions. And so far, that's going pretty well and helping not only myself but other people out as well.
Yeah, that would seem to be a great thing because you're not really competing with other non-landed naturist clubs unless there are several in the Denver, Colorado area. But even if there are, it's not too many. So you're dealing with people around the country. So you're not competing with each other. You're actually helping each other, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're sharing best practices is the way I look at it, and that's exactly what I did in corporate America was facilitated discussions for different business units within our company to share best practices to make sure nobody's dealing with the same problem as another person solved recently. It doesn't make sense to keep that information in silos, and the same goes for the non-landed clubs. I think it's good that we can share ideas not only for events. What type of events are you holding? How did you schedule that? How do you talk to business owners? Things like that.
We're talking to Jeff Jackson. He's the owner and founder of the Rocky Mountain Naturist Club out in Colorado. And Jeff, if you were to give some advice, we'll get into this more heavily in just a few moments, but just right now, if you can come up with one, two, or three, or four or five suggestions or tips for people who are either running a non-landed club right now or they're thinking about doing one, what would some of the quick tips be?
Well, I'd say for somebody thinking about one, you haven't got anything to lose, so give it a try and see if it's your jam.
Mhm.
I think the main thing is you take somebody with the drive and the motivation to create something new, kind of like creating a business. So you need to have that entrepreneurial spirit. You don't need to be an entrepreneur per se. You just have to have the desire to create something and see it go.
Mhm.
I would just, suggest stick with it. It takes a while to build something. It's like the snowball effect. You start with a hand-packed snowball and you start rolling it down the hill, and it gains more traction. You just got to do it before the summer comes and it melts to get it going. But no, it's a labor of love. But I think the rewards, at least for me, outpaced the stresses and struggles I went through in the beginning. And at the end of an event, when I throw an event, just seeing the smiles on the faces of the people who had a good time and the thank yous, and that's my payback really, is just I made a difference in someone's evening.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that a lot of folks don't understand when they come to me and, hey, I want to start a podcast. Can I get going tomorrow? It's like, let's slow down here. There's a whole lot of steps involved. And once you start, the workload is 10 times bigger than you thought it was going in. And so you really have to have a huge time commitment here. We'll take them through the various steps. But that has to be similar to running a non-landed naturist club. There's a lot of work involved. Now, you're really good at it. You know how to do it. As you mentioned, you did it before in the business world. But there are very few weeks, or maybe even very few days, where you, Jeff Jackson, say, I think I'm just going to coast for a while and maybe not do anything at all. We'll see what happens. That's not the way to run a business or a non-landed club, is it?
Well, no, it starts with you and it ends with you
Yeah.
basically. And
Yeah.
so, you've got to keep the motivation going. It's not to say that I'm doing it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I still work, and I like to go play and go camping and travel and do things like that. So, I keep things moving. I have other people in my club that run events now, which is helpful.
Hmm.
And, it's really, there's a lot of things to consider when starting a naturist club. And, I know we were planning on talking about this, but together with John Pulchet, I believe that's the correct pronunciation of his name, and Kane Stanton, We created a document, about a 30-page document on starting a non-landed club, and that has just been posted on the ANNR website, and Linda announced it in the June bulletin. It's available for anybody who wants to start their own non-landed nudist club. And that was born out of, people who have experience starting clubs. It's been reviewed by organizers of existing successful clubs. A lot of information, a lot of advice has gone into the document, as well as a step-by-step process on what you need to do to start a non-landed club. And my hope is that, I didn't have anything like that when I started. So I just kind of went back through what I went through in starting my club, and put it to paper and worked on it with a couple of other people, had it reviewed by a bunch of others. And now we have something that we think will help anybody who wants to start their own non-landed nudist club.
Yeah, I had a chance to read through that document. You were kind enough to send it to me. And to me, it's fairly exhaustive in that it includes pretty much everything. So if you're thinking of starting a club, or if you actually have a club right now, a non-landed club, this is the document to get a hold of. And I'm guessing you're wired the same way. We didn't discuss this at all before the interview, or obviously since, but I am always in that learning mode, always trying to get more information, more knowledge. How can I get better? How can we improve the show? How can we improve the business? Whatever we're doing, how can we get better? That's like a constant theme with me. And I'm guessing it's the same for you. And certainly this document suggests that it is. But I recommend, see if you agree, that everybody be in that mode. If you're doing something, always try to improve, and maybe reading your documents a good way to start.
Absolutely. When you stop learning, you stop growing. And I think, I listen to podcasts, not just this one, but, all different kinds of things and different topics and stuff that I don't have any knowledge of, just to expand my mind and understand, other things. Kinesiology is a great way to put yourself to sleep if you're not really into it. But I do listen to a lot of different podcasts just to expand my knowledge. But to your point, Frank, yes, I think this document has food for thought for anybody who's already running a non-landed club. And I would also put out there that, we just published this document. We plan on reviewing and revising it yearly. So if anybody has suggestions, absolutely let us know, and we'll put it in the next revision.
Now that you said that's available on the ANNR website, is that correct?
Correct. And you have to be a member of ANNR to get the access to the drop-down menu that has the document in it. But yes, you can download it and begin starting your own non-landed club. So I just reached out to somebody on social media who put out there about starting a club. And I said, well, for $45, join ANNR for $45 or a direct for 65, I believe it is. Join ANNR, and you can download the document, and that's a pretty cheap way to get a lot of help for starting your own club.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, speaking of cost, what does it cost somebody to join your club, the Rocky Mountain Naturist Club?
That's a great question. It is free.
Wow.
And again, I position my club so that, that person just, I want to remove all barriers and hurdles. So that person sitting at home, timid, just wanting to try social nudity for the first time, very nervous, high anxiety, I want to remove all barriers. We fund our club by holding nude bowling events 3 times a year. And we usually get about 100 to 150 people,
wow,
depending on the event and the time of year. And it is a hoot. So
yeah.
That is the way we fund our club, is through our nude bowling. And I mentioned that, people come from outside of Colorado to attend those bowling events. We had some guy drove all the way down from, I don't know where in Montana, drove straight through to get to our bowling event and turned around, drove home afterwards. But yeah, that's our biggest money maker and how we support our club.
Oh, that's great to hear. Now, I'm curious as to how that works, because I've never actually been the guy in your shoes to facilitate this. But you approach a bowling alley and say, "Hey, we'd like to bring a bunch of naked people to your place. Is that okay with you?" How does that conversation go, or how do you present it, and how do you get to a yes?
Well, we found that starting with the commercially owned bowling alleys was an instant no. It had to go up the management chain. So we are fortunate to have several privately owned bowling alleys here in the Metro Denver area, and even in Colorado Springs. And so we approached the owners of the privately owned bowling alleys and let them know that, hey, we'd like to rent your bowling alley out, and we will pay you, X amount. It'll be like, we usually raise about anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 for the bowling alley, just for the bowling, and then of course the concessions is separate. And we always encourage our patrons to tip heavily so that they'll ask us back, and it's worked. So a lot of the bowling alleys are say, yeah, that's fine. We pick a day when we don't have bowling leagues and we're typically closed or slow, and we'll give you that night. So that's how we ended up getting a bowling alley. And now we're looking for a privately owned swim school that we can rent their pool for our wintertime events.
Have you approached anybody yet, or any pushback? Or are they somewhat pleasantly surprised and willing to have you in?
Well, we've approached many businesses. We haven't gotten the pool nailed down yet, but we're getting close on one. Things like archery ranges and axe throwing, as long as they offer enough privacy for our club, that will work. I'm going to be later this week down in Colorado Springs, meeting with a couple of different business owners to see about renting their spaces so we can host some events down for our Colorado Springs group.
Oh, that's great. The very terrific Jeff Jackson, the founder and owner of the Rocky Mountain Naturist Club, also the vice president for the American Association for Nude Recreation, the West Region. The man is on fire for naturism, nudism, clothes-free living, non-landed clubs, has written the manual to guide everybody along. And we appreciate Jeff Jackson for being on today's show. And on next Saturday's show, which will be episode 127, part 2 of my interview with the very terrific Jeff Jackson. And before we head for the hills this week until Wednesday rolls along, let's bring back in our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Welcome back, Lisa.
Good to be back. It's been, 30 minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
It's tough to be away. I look forward to it.
We actually asked the police to send an all-points bulletin to look for Lisa Monroe. She's been missing 30 minutes, officer.
It's a shame.
He showed up and he said, Frank, she's right here. Oh, okay. You did good work. I praised him for the work that he did because he brought you right to the studio.
He certainly did.
A great talk with Jeff Jackson. We'll do part 2 next week. This guy is on fire for naturism and non-landed clubs, and now he's the vice president at ANNR-West, and just an amazing guy. And I only first reached out to him because of the Rocky Mountain Naturist Club. Here's a guy who seems to know what he's doing, or whoever. I didn't even know it was a guy at the point. And we started communicating. Oh, by the way, I'm on the board with ANNR-West. He was the director at the time. And, oh, by the way, I'm running the ship on the non-landed clubs, developing, policies. And, oh, by the way, here's a 30-page document that I developed, in A to Z, how to do your own non-landed club. It's like, whoa, it's like Christmas over and over and over again. I thought we'd just talk about one item. Turns out he's a major player. He won't admit to that because he's a humble guy, but he has a lot to say with regard to naturism. Doing a great job, and we'll hear more from him in the future. Any comments on Jeff?
Well, I just thought it was an incredible interview. Just loved hearing his enthusiasm. And, it's great to see someone who's just totally committed to being a naturist and to the enjoyment. But the really great thing for me is, how many people we have who are in isolated areas that listen to the show and they can't get anything. They can't get to a resort. They don't know what to do. This situation of bringing people together without, a resort beneath them or whatever is an amazing idea. And I think something that really, really needs to be promoted, because there are more people in that situation than there are people able to go to resorts.
Oh, yeah, very much so. So we'll do part 2 with Jeff Jackson next week. And Lisa Monroe, until I see you again on Wednesday, go out there and have a great clothes-free few days. We'll see you then.
Okay, you too. I'll certainly have fun, and everyone else, go out and be your nature self, okay?
Sounds good. Well, you've been listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 125 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, and on most Wednesdays, 12 noon Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked, Nudist, and Naturist.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked, Nudist, and Naturist. Have a great clothes-free day.